John Chesto, how do you see Boston's landscape infrastructure changing over the next 250 years? You've written 10,000 articles on business over the years.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
So
adds
you
up.
have a lot of data
Yeah.
to draw upon, things that
Yeah.
you've covered. But where do you see the infrastructure? There's the BRA. Can we build building? What's the bigger kind of arc that you see? Are we set up for?
Well, I think what's really interesting is I was just at, coincidentally today, the grand opening of the Enterprise Research Campus at Harvard, which is probably a mile from here. And it's been slow going these days. The interest rates have made construction expensive, so we haven't seen a lot of buildings go up. But this is where it's headed. The old industrial lands on the outskirts of the city are going to, the downtown's going to expand. And we saw it with the seaport. That was warehouses and rail yards, and it's booming. I think, over here, there's here in Alston and Brighton, that this is the next
big
frontier.
Triangle slot right by the water.
That's right.
Under the highway.
Right. So, we had a lot of money set up from the federal government that to rearrange the turnpike. That didn't quite happen.
Yep.
So they are still trying to figure out how to fund that. But Harvard's going to plow ahead. They've been here almost 400 years. They've got their patient capital. And to see this, what was a rail yard / truck depot, turn into this pretty amazing complex.
It's near the Treehouse building.
Yeah, the Treehouse building's part of it.
It's David Rubenstein Fund.
Yeah, it's a conference center at Harvard has. It's across the street from the business school. I think that's probably Boston's.
And what is the building across the way? Spangler.
I'm not sure exactly what's right across.
It's from North Carolina paid for that one, and Rubenstein from Baltimore paid for the other one. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean it's good having Harvard, but a lot of wealthy people have walked through those halls. Yeah. And some of them send the money back our way. Yeah. And I don't think that's going to change. I think we can count on that for the next 250 years, despite some of the challenges Harvard's been going through. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're very lucky. We're very lucky to have MIT as well. A story I was writing about today was about all the tech companies that sort of survived the bust of the mini computers back in the 90s. Wang, Digital.
Ken Olsen was part of Project Whirlwind and got $70K from the General to fund Digital. It was neck and neck with IBM when IBM was IBM.
So the Bay Area after that pulled way ahead of us, but we still have a ton of semiconductor companies and hard tech companies here, and I think that's part of the future too for us. Is what is called tough tech, figuring out how to make machines smarter. I mean, we have some of the best robotics experts in the world here, and so even though some of the we heard about a certain peninsula in the California area eating our lunch in terms of AI and software, I think that there's a bright future. If we plan it right, to take advantage of all the smart people coming out of here, coming out of MIT, certainly coming out of Northeastern, and some of our other universities.
So I was in a meeting this morning with Ty Brady from Amazon Robotics.
He's one of those smart roboticists.
I guess Amazon bought Kiva and put Amazon Robotics out west, and then they said it's not working out there, like almost organ rejection, and they brought it back here. And Ty's been here for 4 years running that, and he's really bullish on robots. It's not clear where the center of robots are going to be for the U.S. Do you think this region, it's kind of a jump ball?
I think it's a jump ball. And I think because of all that tough tech talent we have coming out of MIT, I mean, it says something. And Amazon said, we got to build our robots here. It's a massive undertaking that they have here. I mean, Kiva, now Amazon, they're one of the biggest companies in the business, but there are a dozen others. I mean, most people, if they think of a name of a Massachusetts company that's in robotics, they think of iRobot, which unfortunately has gone through bankruptcy and is still here, owned by a Chinese company. But it's the industrial strength robots that really is our strong suit here.
So how do you define physical AI? And how is that different than the word robots?
Oh, I think it's related. I
Yep.
mean, I kind of look at it as anything that's making machines do things that autonomously. That they're figuring things out on their own with some guidance from. I mean, you've all seen the dogs from Boston Dynamics. To me, they're a little freaky. I always, I always say whenever the videos pop up, I'm like, uh-oh, here comes Skynet. But what's interesting is the robot companies, including Boston Dynamics, have actually pledged to only do good. They're very important about, they want to make it clear they don't want these things used for nefarious purposes.
So, in terms of landscape, you mentioned chips, mentioned robots. What else do you see in the future landscape?
Well,
extrapolating from what you've covered.
I think another thing to keep an eye out
what
for.
would you like to see?
Well, and this is what I really want to see, and it's been slow going, is the electrification of trains. I mean, we're right here by commuter rails train that I take every day. They're giant diesel machines from 40, 50 years ago. And what we need is flexible trains that blend right in to the subway, so that you can't even tell the difference between commuter rail and subway. That's I visited Paris 2 years ago, and that's how the Paris system works, and it's pretty amazing. I can tell because I write about trains. I'm like, okay, I'm on the commuter train now, but the average person just wouldn't be able to tell, and we need to get to that point. And it's been slow going, and it's they're trying something out on the Fairmount line, which is the commuter rail train that runs basically through the heart of the city. It's still slow, but I think that's something to keep an eye out for, and I think that'll transform this area all the way out to Springfield, ideally, and address some of the housing cost issues. Because if you can, some of these further out towns, if you can start commuting in or commuting around, we're going to be better off.
So let's approach the question a little differently. You were just talking about infrastructure. What about the business leadership? How do you see that changing? I remember when I first moved to Boston, people talked about the vault, and there was a group of business leaders that met. I had this image of them going in a vault and locking the vault. But where do you see the leadership of what would you like to see the business leadership to look like in the future? A lot of what you do is write about what is, but what would you like to see the future look like?
The vault was a time where the bankers pretty much ruled the city. The
Shawmut Bank.
Yeah, we had a ton of, and the city of Boston and the surrounding communities had to do business with them. It's now where this is a global economy. I think we're seeing very different business leaders step up. There is an organization that I've referred to sometimes as the New Vault, which is the Massachusetts Competitive Partnership. And it's definitely more diverse, both in terms of industry, race, gender, than the old vault. But we still have a ways to go. That's a group of CEOs from various big employers in the region. I think we're going to see more diversity, and I think we're going to be better off for it. I think it's not because of a mandate. I think it's because we are now embracing that in Boston. We recognize that diversity is helpful for business.
So you've written 10,000 articles, give or take a few. What are the next 10,000 going to be about? What are some of the themes? If you had AI,
I can look ahead.
If you had AI kind of do a super summary of your next 10,000.
I think some of them are going to be about AI. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are more optimistic about AI than I am, but I do see AI making us more efficient in a good way. But I think I've talked to you before about some of the downsides of relying on AI for information, and I think that the AI is not going to be able to call up sources or have lunch with sources and get what's really going on. I mean, that's what I do for a living, so far at least, is protected from that, because you really can't find out. I remember 30 plus years ago in journalism school, we learned all these, they called it computer-assisted reporting. The technology has changed so much since then that all that I learned in that class is completely useless. But one thing that I learned in journalism school, but also through my life, is how to interact with people, how to find out what's going on by talking to people. And I think that skill is still what's going to keep our profession
Well,
around.
every conversation, surveillance, everything is going to be recorded. It's all going to be in a cloud. You don't even have to be there, and you can see what was said. I mean, it's kind of scary.
It is a little scary.
Like, what if every phone call you've ever had, you can Google and check it out? Like that.
It's something to watch out for. I wouldn't be surprised.
Right. My last question to you: what's the future of the delivery system for the news? We went from 3 TV channels, Walter Cronkite, everyone experienced news at the same time. I don't know if you've heard of the internet, but things have changed. Where is it going? What's the future
Well,
look
you
like?
mentioned that the classified ads. It was actually Craigslist that was the meteor that destroyed that dinosaur, like almost overnight. We had a 100-page help wanted section in the Globe back in around 2000, and now it's like a couple pages, and that was pure money. So I think financially we're still, as an industry, the Globe thankfully is profitable, and we have a lot of loyal subscribers, but the industry itself is still struggling to find that new model. But I would say that it's going to become more personalized, and I think you're going to see more, delivered, like it knows that you're a fan of such and such a team. It'll send you sports updates throughout the day of like anything. It's kind of like almost a Google alert on steroids. I think we're going to see that happening more and more. What's it going to look like? I prefer the printed page. I pay still, even with my employee discount, I still pay a lot from the Globe to land on my doorstep every day. I don't think that's going to be around forever. I think if you had asked me if I'd be sitting here at GBH in 2026 talking about getting print 7 days a week, I'd say maybe 50-50. So I'm happy that we still delivered 7 days a week. But I think it's going digital. What that'll look like, you can only make things so small. I think we're sort of at that happy medium with our cell phones. I wouldn't be surprised. We've seen the goggles come, the goggles go, but I wouldn't be surprised to see something similar like that evolve again as that technology improves. But hopefully, I'll still have my print paper for a little while longer.
Great. Who's never met John Chesto in person?
Oh, that's too many people.
Okay.
Come on, guys.
Now you this is like Guardian of the Galaxy. He's like reporting on what's going on in our region. He's totally accessible, not an asshole, not an egomaniac. He's like doing it
I'll
the
take
right
those
way.
compliments.
I love this guy, and I'm so glad that he weighed in on where things are going in terms of business journalism for this region. Ladies and gentlemen, John Chesto.
Thanks for having me.